1, 2, 3, 4. Chop, chop, chop.
It's Cure of the What Now.
Gather the ingredients.
Cure of the What Now.
Not much time to prep before it's time to start the show.
Oh.
Guests are arriving.
Cure of the What Now.
Everybody's smiling.
Cure of the What Now.
A tasty party starting. Now it's time to go. Woo!
Ooh. Served hot and fresh.
Itadakimasu. Hello, fellow mysterious masked muses, and welcome to
Cure of the What Now. Ah.
the one show where we wonder, friend or foe or fatale.
Or forgotten memory. Ooh.
This is not a Kingdom Hearts show. My name is Kat, and I didn't really save you. You did it by yourself. I just happened to be here.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. I'm your co-host, Joel, and I am a classmate who's so helpful that you might mistake me for a superhero. You think that I'm the one who saved you.
Yeah, but really, you're just pretty and perfect in every way, and do you maybe want to go to prom with me? I'm just saying.
I'm just really good at volleyball, you know, and I have excellent blue hair. Give Juan her own spin-off show.
So one of my favorite things that we do is to make a spike in the recording. We clap to signal like, hey, there's something you need to edit out here. But because we're still puppy sitting, Joel's got this little tiny dog in his lap. And every time he claps, she looks up and looks very startled, like, what was that sound? My goodness. So I'll do the clapping for you if needed.
Okay,
And that
I still
way
think it's going to frighten her, but maybe less so since she's not in your lap.
Absolutely.
We think that we figured out the best sound quality. And again, I just want to apologize for any dog sounds in the background. We're still very much amateurs, but we will one day figure out how to record an episode without any kind of mess-ups.
Yeah, if you have any idea how to soundproof a room against dog sounds, please hit us up.
Absolutely. Now, this week, we have a discussion question sent in from one of our lovely viewers. That one welder guy, the MVP of this podcast, suggested, and this premise might sound a little familiar because we were talking about a specific show that we all love very much, but pitch a PreCure season where they all work in a small town's local government. And I think that's interesting.
I like that a lot. Okay, so first we have to decide, are each of the main cast from different departments, or are they all in the same department?
I think it would be more interesting to do a series where they're in different departments and they have different interests. And I think PreCure could do that, but it also seems really likely that because of the age of the girls, the main characters, they're probably all interns, and I assume that they're all working in the same place. And maybe the pink got the internship started a week earlier than the other two or something.
Okay, well, so I work in a government building, and I'm not going to go into like what level of government or whatever, but I will say,
if you revealed that, you'd have to kill us.
Exactly. I will say we have like 6 or 7 different programs in our one building. And so I think you could do a show where like the whole city government, the town is so small that it takes up one building and they all got internships on different floors or whatever.
Okay, yeah.
And the thing I like about that is that you could have whoever's interning at the city manager's office, the people in charge of like which programs get which funding, could be the mid-season Cure. She could show up to people's things and be like, we're cutting your funding. You no longer have money to put grass in parks. And the pink would be like, oh no, parks need grass.
So basically a Yuriko from Tropical Rouge.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes.
Do you have any ideas for like what the themes of such a season would be? I mean, I guess
Community service.
Yeah, I was about to say, because this is heavily inspired by Parks and Recreation, it would be kind of community and working together and that sort of thing. Optimism in the face of
Challenges.
obesity? Yeah, challenges. No, I'm specifically talking about Parks and Rec. That's one of like the...
Yeah, absolutely. I really like the idea of having a season based around community service, and I think that it's pretty common in Japan to be oriented toward, like, what can I do for others? They have a much more collectivist culture than we do. Our culture is very individualistic.
Sure.
So I think you could get some good stories out of that. Like, somebody is on a team and a citizen is like, I need help with this. And they're like, I want to help them. And their office could be like, that's not really what we do. And they're like, but we're here to serve the people, aren't we?
Yeah, okay, absolutely. I really, like, I made the comment about Yuriko, but I could see this easily having a lot of similar vibes to Tropical Rouge, just the way that we're talking about, the way we're pitching it.
What visual motif would you go for?
I will say, like Oshina Town has a bunch of restaurants and it's delicious party PreCure, and the Star Twinkle Town has an observatory. So I think that it would only be natural for this season to also have like a really big park, and there'd be like an area with like a play set for kids, and it would be like a really impressive play set with like 4 levels to this like multicolorful castle or whatever. But then there would also be statues, and there'd be like a flower garden and that sort of thing.
There'd be like a really nice library. We're just describing the giant park in our town.
I mean, it's pretty nice. I think it would be even more fantastic though, because it's animated and you can do that. But yeah, that would be like the main central hub of the area. And if they ever meet with like outside like tourists, that would be kind of like a natural place for them to meet up.
I like that a lot.
Going back to your question about the visual motif, I'm not sure. Do you have any ideas?
So I'm thinking about other seasons, right? One of them is very heavily elemental, and we've got one where one of the visual motifs is like different card symbols. That's in Fresh, but each of the girls are like fruit themed.
Oh, yes.
So I think it could be kind of random. I like the idea of going with flowers visually, okay. So each of them is like a different flower, because when we all grow together, we create a beautiful garden.
Okay. I really like that. Yeah, I want the discussion topic to be a back and forth, but I'm really blanking.
Yeah, and like not every season has things that make sense at first glance. So like Go Princess, their transformation items and the MacGuffins they're collecting are keys. And you're like, keys, what does that have to do with being a princess? Well, being a princess is really more about chasing your dreams and the future, and the keys represent opening the door to the future. So what can we think of that is representative of trying to help others?
Well, I mean, I guess the red string in Japanese folklore is more about like love and fate, but I think that you could do like maybe ribbons that like tie people together, that sort of thing, where they connect us all.
Yeah.
I've been trying to come up with, because we're going to need to do like 40 plus discussion prompts or whatever. And so,
isn't it great that we keep causing ourselves pain? Like, we chose to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. But like one thing I was thinking of is like, could you do a season that was themed around puzzles, like literal jigsaw puzzles? And I was like, I don't know if that would work, but you could have the thing that they get from defeating the bad guys be puzzle pieces, and they're trying to complete some picture.
I love that. And when they get the full picture, like either the PreCure giant lady comes out of it, or, oh, you know what would happen? Whoever the goddess figure is for this season would come out of the puzzle, and she would give them their new power-up.
Okay, I really like that.
Do you have any other thoughts, or are you ready to move on to some succinct summaries?
Let's move on to some succinct summaries.
We're going to start with Max Heart first and just get it out of the way. Joel, did anything happen in Max Heart this week?
Now, on paper, you would think the answer is yes, because the PreCure duo is now a PreCure trio. But in execution, actually watching the episode, no, nothing happened at all.
Excuse me, Shiny Luminous isn't a PreCure? Because at this point in the season, non-human characters could not become PreCure?
That's absolutely true. So yes, there was a memo at Toei, or maybe a PreCure-specific department, that basically non-human entities could not become cures. So the queen, who's resurrected into this Kohai, this younger lower classman? Anyways, she gets to fuse with Poloon, and they transform, but she becomes Shiny Luminous, not Cure Luminous or anything like that. She has a lot of power, but she doesn't know how to use it yet, so she's gonna need someone to show her the ropes. If only she had 2 mentor figures. And like, that part is kind of interesting, but the rest of the episode is just nothing. They spend a long time. First, Elder is like, could she be the body of the queen? And then Wisdom goes, could she be the body of the queen? Not the bottom of the queen, jeez. And then Nagisa is talking to them, and she goes, oh my gosh, what do you mean she could be the body of the queen? And then Wisdom's like, I think she could be the body of the queen. Nagisa goes, oh, when you say it like that, she could be the body of the queen. So I don't have anything to say about this episode. James's only thought is that the rooster statue was saved. He did not say rooster statue, but I am not going to repeat word for word what he said.
Oh, Lord.
It's a double entendre, you see.
Thank you, that one welder guy, as always. How do you feel about Shiny Luminous's design?
I do really like her design. I found the transformation strange because it spent so long focusing on her hair, like, unbraiding and untangling, and I was like, this is an unnecessary level of detail. Like, this goes on for, like, what feels like 20 seconds. That's a lot of transformation time to just show hair flapping about.
I was expecting Seikun to do something, but she just sort of vibed in the background while this was happening. Also, we finally got to see a transformation from the outside, and apparently the reason the bad guys never interfere with it is because it creates, like, a shockwave that knocks you all backward.
Absolutely. I always wondered if the transformation was drawn out for us, the audience, but if it happens in a pocket dimension such that it's like 1 second in the real world, but 45 seconds of them slowly twirling as the ribbons form on their body or whatever. But no, it happens in real time, so that's good confirmation.
Depends on the season, I think, because I'm pretty sure there was a scene in Cure where they just go poof and they're in their magical girl costumes as they're running around a corner. So bringing some positivity into this discussion of Max Heart, I really love how fluid the animation in the opening is. It's got a lot of the same elements from the original opening visually, but it just, like, one pose shifts into another, and it's all really natural and smooth, and I don't know, it's just really pleasant to watch.
Absolutely. I don't know terms for filmography. Like, I know what a Dutch angle is, but there's a part in the opening that I want to say feels rotoscoped, but I have no idea if that's the right term. But it feels kind of like 3D, where I think it's Honoka goes around a corner and the camera kind of like shifts with her, and it's really well animated.
Mm-hmm. They also push the facial expressions a lot, which I think was one of the strengths of the original, is that Nagisa is a very expressive character, and so seeing that brought out even more is very enjoyable.
On the note of animation, really quickly, Nagisa, when she transforms, she kind of does this, like, somersault kind of thing, and then when she comes out of it, she's all like, woo! Her limbs don't look natural. She looks like she's a ragdoll.
That was Honoka that you commented on while we were watching.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
okay.
Her arms are just like, it's very odd.
Oh, that's going in the soundboard.
I bet it is. One thing that I pointed out when we were watching this was that if you see Futari Wa as a coming-of-age story and about accepting responsibility even as it's making the rest of your life more complicated, that's Nagisa's arc, right? This story is the natural extension of that, where now not only is she taking responsibility for herself and becoming a part of her community, but she's taking responsibility for the next generation. She's got this underclassman that she's bringing up. And so I really like the idea of this being a continuation of Nagisa's growth as a person.
Absolutely.
I think both seasons were largely about her.
I would absolutely agree with that. At one point before we started Max Heart, but after we finished Futari Wa, you made the comment to me off mic that you were told that the Shiny Luminous character, because we knew she existed, we've seen crossover movies where she's in it, was kind of like a baby figure, kind of like Chiffon or Hugton, is that her name from Hugto? And kind of like Fu is a little bit of a baby in a sense. And having now seen the first, 5 episodes, it's clear that it is more like a younger sister, but there is a different generation kind of feel to it, even if they're only like a year or two apart physically or something like that.
Absolutely. She's not a literal baby like Ha was briefly, but she is kind of like the younger sister or child to the two main.
Yeah, absolutely. I think younger sister fits much more closely to kind of the relationship and that sort of thing.
Totes McGoats.
Yes. You know what else Max Heart is doing? And I'm not sure I like it, but it is noticeably different from Futari Wa, the original, the OG. But these episodes keep ending on cliffhangers. So last episode ended with Poland being like, I'm gonna transform, or whatever he said. Accept the future of the light that is your destiny. Kingdom Hearts is darkness. And then...
But you said it was full of light and stuff.
So it goes to credits, before you actually see her transform. And then this episode, Vampire Guy, maybe he has a name. He's just going to be Vampire Guy forever. But he's like, grr, I will destroy you. I'm very evil. And then he charges, and then it cuts to credits. And again, I'm not sure I necessarily like that, because if the episodes weren't so drawn out with, what's the Queen's body? Who's the Queen's body? You're the Queen's body? Who's
also,
got the
really
power?
quick, the version we're watching translates it as the Queen's life, but I just think body makes more sense because she's the physical vessel. And then the Seacoons, not
the
Seacoons,
Heart Eels.
the Heart Eels are her powers, right? And then we're also looking for her will.
I think the Heart Eels are the will, perhaps, maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I cannot keep track, and they failed to make me care, honestly.
Yeah, the Heart Eels are the will.
Okay. Anyways, also, we are 5 episodes into a series that I think is about 50 episodes. I don't know if it's like closer to 45 or closer to 50, but we've only met one of the 12 Heart Eels, so this is not Futari Wa, where we got all 7 Prism Stones in 20 episodes. This is a long journey where every single Heart Eel is probably going to get its own bio on the wiki.
Absolutely. I really love Seacoon. I'm a sucker for, like, the baby dragon archetype, where, like, I've got these tiny creatures flitting around me that want to be helpful, but also are kind of small and dumb.
Yes.
That was one of my favorite things about Kamen Rider Drive, was that he had the little tiny cars that were his friends. I
like, too, that each one of these is going to represent a different aspect of the Queen's will, and so you're going to get a babysitter's episode, or not a babysitter, a daycare episode, where Seacoon wants to go out and find something, and, I don't know, Adventure-kun wants to slay a monster, and Reed-kun wants to stay inside and read a book, and I think that the way they play off of each other is going to be very interesting if we're allowed to see that. It's possible that Hikari will just open her mouth and eat Seacoon, and we'll never see Seacoon again, and then it's a quest to find the other 11 so she can eat them too.
Oh no.
Could you just imagine her just like with like this really like innocent look, just like looking at Seacoon, and Seacoon's like, oh my gosh, it's the Queen's body, yay! And then
Well, and I mean, she doesn't really seem to have any emotions or will of her own, because she's just a vessel. So that would make sense to me if she like booped the fairy on the nose and absorbed it, and now all of a sudden she has curiosity or whatever. I just had one spoiled for me that's going to show up soon.
Okay.
And I think you're really going to like them.
Ooh, very exciting. And I think that wraps up Max Heart, and now we can move on to Suite PreCure. They have such a good opening. Sweet. It's so good.
Do you want to sing me a song about last time on Suite PreCure?
No, I'm not prepared to sing at this time.
Okay. Well, last time on Suite PreCure, Siren had left her team, and they don't know where she is.
Well, kind of. That's part of the first episode of the episodes we watched. So the last episode we saw on Cure of the What Now? The bass drum.
Bass.
Everybody drop that bass. Okay, so Green Guy is all like, Siren, you're no longer the leader of the team. And we're like, what does this mean for Siren's story? Episode 11, we're covering episodes 11 through 13, by the way. Kat and I were so excited that we also watched episode 14, but we didn't want to watch more episodes than we promised to watch in the Discord and cause people to not have watched the right number of episodes. But at beginning of episode 11, they're all back in the Clock Tower base talking to Wario, whose name is Mephisto, but it's Wario, come on. And Wario goes, what? Something went terribly wrong? Siren, are you lusting after a human? That's my third commandment. No lusting after humans.
He did explicitly use the word lusting.
And at that point, he officially kicks Siren off the team. So it seems like maybe Bassdrum was lying last episode, or he was just predicting that she'd get kicked off the team. But Siren is officially kicked off the team, and she leaves the tower. This is very important. And the rest of the episode is about Bass or Bassdrum. Who's to say? Who knows? But he sets up a music competition, and Hibiki and Kanade are very excited to enter. They want to play piano together. There's a really cute scene where Kanade assumes Hibiki won't want to, but Hibiki's like, no, I do want to. And Kanade's like, oh, you're taking an interest in my interest, babe. Thanks. Akko and Sota show up again because, gotta have those younger sibling characters, I guess.
Sota's like, hey, do you want to play clarinet with our class, Akko? And Akko's like, F you, I love music, but I don't want to play it.
Yeah, she's like, I love music, but I hate music. And you're like, okay, whatever. Whatever's going on with that. And then they find out that the music competition was a fake. And Bass Drum summons 2 negatones, and they're kicking Hibiki and Hami's butts. I guess technically rhythm and melody, you know what I mean. And then a new challenger appears. Oh, if I have time, I should set up a Smash Bros. Whatever.
I'm sure there's a template.
A new character shows up. A character who does not speak, is wearing a mask, has a wonderful cape with the Majorland heart on the back of the cape. So if you notice, Hami has a heart on her head, and Siren has an upside-down heart on her head, and other cats you see from Majorland have the right-side-up heart. So right-side-up heart on the back of this person's cape. She has her own fairy tone, which means she is officially a PreCure. And she doesn't talk, but her fairy tone does. And she says, I'm not your friend. I'm no one's friend. I'm a mysterious person. I'm not going to drive the plot for the next couple of episodes. Also, what are you doing? Kick those negatones' butts. So they kick the negatones' butts, and peace is restored, and Cure Muse disappears. The 2 components that are the main story arc for the next couple of episodes are Siren's journey and Cure Muse's identity. And you will notice that in this episode, Siren disappeared at the very beginning of the episode. She did not come back until the very end of the episode. And in between those 2 points, a mysterious masked person showed up who's very good at fighting. What could it mean? I literally was invested in this mystery. I did not know who was under the mask. And technically, I'm still not supposed to know based off of the episodes that we've seen. But unfortunately, when you go to Wikipedia and you look up a certain character for completely unrelated reasons, their profile picture has the masked Cure Muse. But I legitimately was like, okay, so it seems like it's Siren, but how did Siren get a fairy tone? Why did she turn good all of a sudden when, she got quit from the team? Was power so important to her that the moment she got fired, she just turned on her bosses?
Is that why she's not an ally? She just happens to be there.
Yes. And so I assumed that it was not Siren and that they were trying to give us a very obvious, could it be?
You're trying to trick me.
Yes. It was a red herring, as they say.
Absolutely. And it's funny, too, because this episode and the subsequent episodes slip in some other red herrings as well.
Yes.
There are a couple of characters with main character hair, and episode 12 centers on Hibiki and Kanade being like, could it be that? It could be that.
Absolutely. Do you want me to summarize the other 2 episodes?
Yeah, I feel like since it's one arc, we might as well.
Okay. So in episode 12, Hami talks to Aphrodite. I guess she'd be Peach in this analogy? Yeah, so she talks to Princess Peach, and she goes, hey, so this Cure showed up, and she didn't talk, and Princess Peach goes, oh my god, she didn't talk? It doesn't mean anything, don't worry about it, Hami, it's no big deal. So something's going on with that. We don't know exactly what, but there's some connection to Majorland and Cure Muse. The girls ask Otakichi, and also in episode 11, right before Cure Muse showed up, he was like, I sense a disturbance in the force. Something's not quite right. So Otakichi's involved in this in some way. And I have some crack theories. I know we saved that till the end of the podcast, but let me just say, 1, Otakichi was Cure Muse in his youth, okay? We've had other seasons where they meet the legendary PreCure, and I think in this case, that was Otakichi.
Okay.
If not, he was the PreCure. He was either the PreCure of old's lover and or manservant. So that's why he knows more than he lets on. That's why he's a leprechaun. That's why he knows Hummy can talk.
Okay, that vibes.
But they ask him, what does Muse mean? And he goes, Muse means goddess of music.
Muse is a goddess,
yes. Yeah. And they're like, okay, so cool. Someone who's like a goddess. And they try to figure out who it is. At the same time, Bassdrum is trying to figure out where Siren went because he thinks that Siren is Cure Muse. And at the end of the episode, he yells at Cure Muse as she's retreating, basically being like, hey, Siren, come back! And that's what leads in episode 13. I'll get back to that in a second. But Hibiki and Kanade at one point assume different people are Cure Muse. There is a blue-haired girl named Waon, W-A-O-N, and she's on the baseball team and the volleyball team. She's basically just as athletic as Hibiki is. And in one of the previous episodes, she said, I'll always be there to protect you. You know that, right? Right before Cure Muse showed up, who protected them. And Kanade assumes that it's her classmate Seika, S-E-I-K-A, who is like the head of the baking club, and she is settling a dispute between two people who are upset at each other, and she goes, hey, I'm not on anyone's side, which is exactly what Cure Muse said when she showed up, so Kanade's like, oh, is it her? And then at the end of the episode, they're convinced by Bassdrum's idiocy that Siren must be Cure Muse.
Yes, there's also a great new moment at the end of this episode where they try to attack the negatones and it doesn't work and Bassdrum goes, haha, I'm stronger than Siren, which led to a theory for me that I'll explain in a minute. But Cure Muse goes, you idiots, the same attack wouldn't work twice.
And she goes, look at your belt ears and try to solve the mystery of how they can be used.
Use your brains, and is exactly what she says.
And Hibiki goes, oh, because I normally hold it in my right hand, I just put it in my left hand, and the look of annoyance on Cure Muse, like, no, Hibiki, you're a dumbass. But then the girls have a miraculous discovery. They remember that back in grade school, they chose to put points in dual wielding. And so the Beltiers can come apart, and they can use a new final attack, and it is wonderful. We'll talk about that, the attack and the visuals later. But they have the new purifying attack, as it's known. And then in episode 13, we get Hummy and Siren backstory. Because if you'll recall, in the first episode when Siren showed up, Hummy was like, oh my god, it's Siren, my bestie! And Siren's like, F off, Hummy, I have no friends. And she told Hibiki and Kanade that Siren is her best friend. So it turns out, Siren is not originally from Minorland. She's from Majorland. She is a little bit older than Hummy, which you can tell based off the fact that Hummy's still a kitten and Siren is a cat. And so Siren helped teach Hummy how to sing and practice music and stuff like that. And there was kind of a music competition to see who would become the next person to sing the song of, I can't remember what it's called when it's the good one.
The Happiness Melody.
Yeah, the Happiness Melody. And another cat shows up named Diva, and with a name like Diva, we probably should have suspected something was up, but she gives Hummy a music note, and she's like, or a score, and she's like, hey, use this to sing on the day. Oh, and don't tell anyone, it's a secret music score. There's nothing suspicious about this.
And right before Diva did this, Siren had said, hey, Hummy, I don't want you to rely too heavily on me. We should practice on our own. Now we're rivals. So this is why Hummy didn't come to Siren with her score.
Yes, absolutely. But it turns out that it was a fake music score and that Diva was trying to trick her, and a bunch of the cats at Majorland are just major assholes. And Siren's like, here, take my music score and sing this instead. And Hummy's really stiff and awkward and everyone's like laughing at her. But then when she sings in a way that a cat should not.
It was so horrifying. It was beautiful, but it was deeply disturbing.
If you heard that come out of a human, or if they animated a human singing it, you'd be like, wow, what a beautiful singing voice. But because it's this normal-ass cat, and the singing voice sounds nothing like how Hummy talks, it's just like, it's this weird disassociation or cognitive dissonance. She is chosen as like the best in the world.
She's the new songstress for Majorland.
And Siren is clearly upset, and part of her wishes that maybe she had not shown that act of kindness to Hummy. We don't know what happens after that, but apparently between then and the first episode, she turned to the dark side and she joined Minorland. And in this episode, Hummy's like, no, Siren, I love you unconditionally. I'm a creature of pure goodness, and I believe in you, and I want us to be friends.
I never would have gotten this far without you.
Yeah. It was really touching. And so Siren's like, wow, that's amazing. And then two people show up. One has pink hair and one has blue hair. What could it mean? And they're like, oh my god, a negatone is over there. You have to come with us right away, miss. And so Hibiki and Kanade and Humi leave, and Siren's left behind, and she's confronted with Diva, who's like, did you know that Humi tried to throw you under the bus? And Siren's like, nah, man, Humi's my friend. She just said so. And Diva goes, aren't you sure you don't want to be mind controlled? And Mephisto / Wario does some mind control, and Siren's eyes glow red. And then she shows up and she's like, Humi, I hate you, and I'm going to destroy you.
She literally tries to kill Humi. Like, she targets an attack at Humi and blows up the score that she had been carrying around for years because it was so meaningful to her.
Yes, and the only thing that is able to save them is Cure Muse appearing. So you have Siren, that everyone at this point thought was Cure Muse. Humi even asks her, and she's like, no, of course not. What are you talking about? But anyways. And then you have the real Cure Muse show up and save Humi from Siren. So now everyone knows that it's not Siren. Of all the people that Cure Muse could be, we know it's not Hibiki, we know it's not Kanade, we know it's not Humi, we know it's not Siren, we know it's not the minor trio. Those are literally the only people we can rule out.
Yeah, so the only guess that anybody really had is just out the window. So now who could it be?
Yeah.
Is this the longest a single plot has been carried through that we've seen so far?
I don't know about single plot. But it depends on how you define it. But like, as far as a mysterious character, I really do feel like this is the longest they've ever dragged it out. And they did such a good job giving you the red herring, like, oh, we've all seen a show, the evil character gets kicked out of the evil organization, of course they're going to turn good. And they left at the beginning of the episode, and they came back at the end, and when asked where they went, they're like, it's a secret. So like, of course that's what's happening. But it wasn't happening.
I think Siren went to OG's house. And I think she was getting snuggles.
All right.
We also found out in this episode that Humi can just have conversations with regular-ass cats.
So can Siren. They can both talk to just regular cats.
And there's a place where the stray cats of the village hang out and get fed by little old ladies. And apparently Humi and Siren also just hang out there sometimes. So when Humi's looking for Siren to ask her about Cure Muse, she goes there and the other cats are like, hey, Humi, how's it going? She goes, I'm good. Have you seen Siren? No, she hasn't been around here lately.
They slapped us in the face not once, but twice. Not only can Humi talk to other cats, which was a complete surprise, but they just throw us in the situation where it's like, yeah, Humi's been coming here for months. What? When was that established? What are you talking about?
Humi does her own things while the girls are busy, I guess.
She lives her own life.
I also want to shout out a great scene between Humi and the fairy tones. When Humi goes, but she has her own fairy tone. What note could it be? And she counts the fairy tones that she has. She goes, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And then she goes, oh no, I am missing one. I'm missing the final do. And they go, you're an idiot, Humi. And Humi lays down on the ground and says something along the lines of, I've lost the will to ever get up again.
Yeah.
And one of the fairy tones looks at the camera and go, you'll get up when there's cupcakes.
And she does. She perks up. She's like, did you just say cupcakes? And they're like, we knew it. Yeah, so I guess this purple note fairy tone that hangs out with Cure Muse is, I think they called it the higher do, which, okay, fine. I can get behind that. I love that Humi has regularly been shown to be an airhead. So of course she didn't notice that she lost one of the fairy tones. It's so good.
Mm-hmm. I guess we usually ask, did you like these episodes? But I feel like...
I loved these episodes. They were so good.
I love Humi. I'm so attached to Humi because unlike a lot of fairies, she gets a lot of her own screen time. Like, she's actively doing something while the Cures are off going to school or whatever, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. I've talked about this before, I think maybe more on King of the What Now rather than on Cure of the What Now, but sometimes I will watch a scene and I will know the emotion that it's trying to evoke in me, but if the media was written for a different audience, such as PreCure mostly being written for younger people, sometimes I know what they're trying to communicate, and I can appreciate that they tried, but I don't feel it. I don't know. Chiffon having an episode where she's sad, I might not necessarily feel it in my bones because, like, part of me is kind of like, it's just an animated character and the conflict's kind of rushed, but I understand what they're trying to set up. Hummy and Siren actually, like, broke my heart. It hurt to see that score get destroyed by Siren, who's like, I don't need any friends. And I just gotta say, I'm very curious where this is going. Here's the thing.
Where?
It's right under my left butt cheek. I invite you to look for it if you wish. But... ass cheeks.
No, stop it. Rear end.
Posterior.
Gluteus maximus.
Posterior and posterior, the two logical symbols that you use within butt computer science.
Where's the thing, Joel? Tell me what the thing is.
Every season of PreCure that I'm aware of introduces one Sixth Ranger. There is an exception of a season that introduces two, but they get introduced as PreCure at the same time. And so to have Cure Muse show up and basically say, I am definitely the secret Sixth Ranger, she definitely has, like, the strength and speed of a PreCure, she definitely has a fairy tone, like, there's nothing about her that would suggest that she's somehow faking being a PreCure. And yet you have Siren, who is this evil character who's been shown to have a relationship with Hummy, who has some conflict with the Minor Trio and Wario, and so, like, part of me, the meta-knowledge is working against me. There can only be one Cure, and it's either Cure Muse or it's Siren. Unless, crack theory number 2, the Cure Muse that we know now will die, and Siren will have to take up the mantle.
I really like that Cure theory. I think that's fantastic.
Excellent. Is it the Fantastic Beltier?
Is it Fantastic Animal? No. I don't know. I wonder if it counts when you have a Cure that obviously existed before the current PreCure.
But did she? Okay.
She doesn't appear to have a Beltier. Have you noticed?
Yeah, she does not.
She does have a weird rainbow piano attack.
that she used in one of the episodes, but not the other two.
And it also didn't purify the thing. It just kind of knocked it over.
Mm-hmm,
and the girls were able to use their tone rings. I have to say, her comment about, like, you didn't think the same attack would work twice. It does, though.
Yeah.
Their new attack, they used in the episode where it was introduced, and then they used in the next episode, and it worked. So I guess you don't think the bad guys would never adapt, would be a better...
Yeah, you wouldn't think that the same attack would work forever, perhaps.
Yeah.
But can we talk about this frickin' attack? I love bright colors. I wrote a story about a character collecting gems of different colors because, you know, kind of one of the most obvious plot points you can write. And then they became what was known as a rainbow spirit. I love rainbows and bright colors. And so this new attack, Kanade and Hibiki both get their own version of it, but they only ever use it as a pair. And I didn't write down the names, but they're kind of drawn out. They're like the fantastic, wonderful performance, a pregio attack. But they split their Beltier in half. They do a joyous little, like...
shake. They shake
like
their maracas.
And they make, like, little boom, boom, boom sounds. So I guess it's a little bit more like drums, I guess, or a xylophone. And it's so bright colors. They create a heart made out of flames, and half the heart is one color and the other half is another. So I think Hibiki's is like red and bluish, and then Kanade's is like yellow and pink. And then they launch them forward, and it creates this rainbow explosion. It's so cool.
We sometimes joke about making merch for this podcast, and I think if I were going to make a shirt, it would be based off of a line you just said. It's so bright colors. That is what the shirt would say. PreCure, it's so bright colors.
Absolutely. How do you feel about the new attack?
I like it. They were a little bit more expressive, I felt, during the entirety of the tone ring sequence.
Sure.
But it still has the same kind of finish where they go, un, deux, trois, finale!
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. So I just miss... She only did it one time, but Kanade walking off screen after she did her attack, I wish she did it every time.
Mm-hmm. I watched History's Strongest Disciple and read the manga, and he had an attack that was called Mubiyoshi, which literally translates to like 0 beats. And when they do their 3/4 beats, it's Sanyopshi or something like that. And I'm like, it tickles my brain goose because it reminds me of that other show I was really fond of. I think it's a great series, and I love the fact that Muse is like, come on, girls. You can figure this out. It's not friendship that will give you this new power-up. It's just using your brains, you dum-dums.
I like characters that call Kanade and Hibiki stupid. We've got Cure Muse and we've got Akko, and like they need more people calling them out for their ridiculousness.
Absolutely. Also, really quick shout out. It's a small little scene. I might make a gif of it. The day of the music competition, Hibiki and Kanade are running to the plaza, and they do this little like twirl as they run because they're just full of like joy and energy. And like, again, I got a completely different impression of Kanade in the first episode than I have seen as the series develops, and I love her for it.
She's so amazing.
Good. One question that I want the series to answer that has not been answered up through episode 14, where was Cure Muse before this? Because like you said, she seems to have more knowledge about everything that's going on. And Princess Peach knows something about her, which indicates that maybe she's like a long-standing member. Maybe she's like the proto PreCure, but she failed, and then that's why she has to rely on these other two to purify things. But I just want an explanation for her history, because why did she wait until episode 11 to make her first appearance? Why didn't we get any kind of allusions to her in the first 10 episodes if she was around before Kanade and Hibiki?
I have a couple of ideas.
Okay.
One is that something about the negatones getting stronger woke her up.
Okay.
Like
sure.
she sealed herself away only to return in times of great peril. Another idea that I have, and this is sort of based on spoilers, but I won't do the spoiler. I'll just give you my idea redacted.
One of the pieces of evidence that led you to this conclusion is spoilers, but the conclusion is still...
Right. So the character who I think Cure Muse is, I think the original Cure Muse might have been their mom or grandmother, and they might have found this in that person's stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I really like that.
They realized this was the same as the PreCure who are currently fighting, and they're like, I want to join the fight too. I think that it's telling that we don't get to hear Cure Muse's voice at all. Like, they're very clearly trying to keep it a sneaky secret.
I mean, so, again, I know who Cure Muse is, Kat knows who Cure Muse is, and I really wish that when I had tried to, like, look up a character to make sure that I spelled their name right in the sticker sheet, that the profile picture hadn't been spoilers.
You should make one of your projects going through the PreCure wiki and putting spoiler warnings on things so that
my gosh.
Average people just trying to check something don't get spoiled.
Yeah, maybe. But the another conclusion that I've come to, and it seems obvious, if she is unwilling to speak, it must be because they would recognize her voice. So, and again, like, there's the meme about, well, I don't know about if you necessarily call it a meme, but there's some people who are like, let's make a boy a PreCure. What would be wrong with that? Let's be inclusive and that sort of thing. And that piece of meta-knowledge, coupled with the fact that she's drawn femininely, she has breasts. They're not prominent, but you can clearly tell that Cure Muse is a woman. So we just need to look for any character who's had a speaking line with Hibiki and Kanade, who is a lady, and we will narrow it down. But unfortunately, who knows, maybe... Because Hibiki and Kanade never actually asked Juan and Seika if they were Cure Muse. So they could have done a double twist, right? You think it's them... You think it's Siren, but it really was the first guess. Kind of like in a murder mystery.
Maybe it's more than one person, and that's why the mask.
Oh, Cure Muse is all of us all along.
Yes, we're all here to support the PreCure, and that's why they're not doing any attacks on their own, because they really just want to, like, build the PreCure up.
Oh my god.
Cure Muse could be Hibiki's mom, back from her violining, but not wanting to intervene too much in her daughter's life.
Oh, that is another thought that I had at some point when we were recording this episode. Cure Muse could potentially want melody and rhythm to become stronger themselves. So maybe that's why she didn't purify the first negatone. Maybe that's why she's telling them how to use their belt ears. Maybe she can't solve the apocalypse that's coming, but these two can, but they need a little bit of a nudge. And that's why she's showing up, because maybe she's been watching every battle and she's like, okay, making progress today. Hibiki did a 1 out of 10 in her journey. She did the first step. And then in episode 3, she's like, all right, Hibiki did a 2. And then 3 episodes went by without any more progress. And she's like, why can't they figure out that there's 2 ends to the freaking belt ears?
Absolutely. I like that. I have one more thought for you, one more looking ahead kind of idea. If Siren was actually from Major Land and was actually a good person and has been brainwashed, do you think the same is true of the minor trio?
I don't think so. We haven't had any hint that they have a previous relationship with another character as we've gotten with Siren and Hami. And also, if Siren does become a good guy, or does get written out of the story, or maybe sacrifices herself, it wouldn't be the first time in PreCure, maybe you would need some kind of evil leftover. And I don't see Wario showing up and throwing bombs everywhere.
Yeah, okay, that's valid. We don't have any thoughts from the crew this week for these episodes. Next week, we are going to watch 4 episodes of Suite because Suite is all that we're watching.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, depending on how our schedule works out, maybe even more. We're promising, we're committing to episodes 14, 15, 16, and 17. I am heavily invested in this mystery, and I hope this series gets even better.
Absolutely. Joel, do you want to take us out on a crack theory?
Oh, crack theory. Maybe. I have some really quick thoughts. I'm gonna make them brief.
Shotgun them to me.
Okay. 1. You proposed that bass drum was the best man at the wedding for the other 2, whose names are falsetto and baritone. I think it makes more sense if he was the minister. He was the one.
Absolutely.
He was the one who married them. Secondly, baritone and falsetto look like people. Their hair is, a different color, but it's anime, so who cares? Baritone or bass drum? Beast drum. Okay. Bass drum kind of doesn't look quite as human as the other 2. There's quite a few times where he's in the background, or when he's about to take a note or attack Hami or whatever. He kind of reminds me more of a troll or a golem or whatever, which is unfortunate because he's the darkest skin of the 3.
And he's got afro style hair.
So there might be some unfortunate implications there. It might just be that they tried to draw diverse body types. It could be that of the minor trio, he's the strongest and he's going to become the leader once the other 2, if Siren gets written out of the picture, he's the one who would take over. But it is something that I notice and makes me kind of go what was the intention behind this whenever I'm taking screenshots?
Absolutely. And was that all you have for me?
My final crack theory is something that you alluded to. Cure Muse is not a person, nor is it an identity. What it is it's a sentient mask, much like in Jim Carrey's The Mask, and much like in Crash Bandicoot. It latches onto someone's face, and in exchange for their lifespan, it grants them temporary demonic powers.
This is the best idea I've ever heard.
And that has been your
La 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 final thought.
Outro goes here. The Phantom of the Muse is here.
The Phantom of the PreCure is here.
Clock Tower. Sing my fairy tone.
Nut. Thank you all for joining us for another delicious plateful of
Cure of the What Now.
Please take a moment to rate and review wherever you get your podcasts from.
Or if you're watching on YouTube, be sure to leave a comment, a like, or lick that subscribe bell so you know when the new episodes are going up.
Did you just say lick it?
Well, yeah, we're baking delicious foods. It's a delicious party.
Anyway, you can find me on Twitter at PirateGhostHost. Please don't lick me.
Can you even lick a ghost? I'm on Twitter at Kotwin_pod.
KOTWN_pod.
Absolutely. And as always, the Discord link is in the Twitter bio and also in the YouTube description.
Come join us for weekly discussions, streams and all of the PreCure your heart can handle. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yum. Or no, I'm full.